All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning and welcome. Court officer, can you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case KSC BC 2020-04, Specialist Prosecutor versus Pjetër Shala.
Thank you. First of all, I kindly ask you to tell the court who's present for today. You have the floor, Madam Prosecutor.
Good morning, Your Honors. For the SPO, Line Pedersen, Case Manager, Federica Genovesi and Grace Kyer, Legal Interns, Filippo De Minicis, Prosecutor, and me, Gaia Pergolo, Associate Prosecutor.
Thank you. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honours. I'm Simon Laws, counsel for the victims in this case, together with my co-counsel, Maria Radziowska.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, my honors. I'm Mr. Jelisen, the Defense Counsel. We are here with Mr. Shala, who is in the detention center with us. We are here with two co-defenders, Mr. Awini and Ms. Keriolu, Juliette Healy, including another evidence review assistant, Judith Kolb, and of course our case manager, Ms. Petrovic.
Very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And good morning, Mr. Shala. Can you confirm that you hear me well?
Mirzita.
Good morning, Your Honors. I hear you very well.
Thank you. Today we continue with the presentation of the evidence by the Specialist Prosecutor. More specifically, we will hear the testimony of Mr. Marek Gazior, who is an expert witness. Before we start with the witness testimony, we need to deal with some pending procedural matters. The first thing is that the panel will put on record an order made via email last week. This was on Monday, the 19th of June, 2023, and it concerns the use of visual aids by the witness. Having taken note of the SPO request made via email on the 19th of June 2023 at 3 to authorize the witness to bring into the courtroom and use during his expert testimony skeletal and anatomical models as visual aids, and also having taken note of the fact that the defense and victims' counsel have not raised any objections, the panel granted the SPO request via email on the 19th of June 2023 at 15:59 and authorized Mr. Gazior to bring into the courtroom and use during his testimony the requested visual aids. This concludes the panel's order. Secondly, the panel clarifies that the commencement of the presentation of the evidence called by victims' counsel and any views and concerns of participating victims is set in principle, subject to whatever, to further procedural steps, which is set for Monday, the 21st of August, 2023. And lastly, the panel will address the meeting that took place yesterday between Mr. Gazior and the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. And I will first give the floor to the parties and to victims' counsel on this matter, if they so wish. And defense counsel, you indicated that you wanted to have the floor on this to make submissions. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. I have two oral requests about that, about the situation we are living just now. So, in public, I suppose I would like to be in public looking at the topic. I think.
Very well. Just be careful if there would be anything that we would need to discuss in
Of
private.
course, just the
Thank
name
you.
of the expert witness, because there
Very
is
well.
no protection. That is
No,
no
no, no.
problem. Thank you very much. So I'm reading it because I would like to be really on the point and to be accurate. Okay. So, Your Honours, to our great surprise, as late as yesterday afternoon, we were notified and received a copy of an official note of meeting with Dr. Gracio, referring to a meeting conducted yesterday between this expert witness and the SPO. The so-called note appears to concern a disguised new interview, a new statement with the said expert witness. The interview was evidently prompted by the list of material of the defense shared with the SPO on Friday, 23 June 2023, as it revisits the expert opinion already provided. The defense notes the importance of exploring and seeking the truth. The defense also notes the relevant findings in the witness familiarization decision issued by the panel on the 24 February 2023. However, providing new material by an expert witness on the eve of his testimony is a flagrant violation of the accused's right, as well as the time limits set by the rules and the framework decision regarding the disclosure of expert reports. Once more, the defense is present with a fait accompli. We are about to start with the witness testimony, yet the defense was given no time to discuss the newly disclosed element of expert witness account with his own experts. The defense hardly had time to take instruction from Mr. Shala on these new elements. It is, I sustain, unacceptable. I want to say that more unacceptable, it is, I maintain, unfair. This places an excessive burden on the defense that now face adjust expert evidence and interferes with the right of the defense to effectively respond to and challenge the prosecutor's case, including that based on evidence having benefit from adequate time and facility. This last-minute adjustment is at odds with the principle of equality of arms between the party and the right of the accused to an adversarial argument. The defense cannot indeed proceed in this manner. Basic principle of fairness requires that the defense is given a real opportunity to discuss the new element in the expert witness testimony with his own expert and, of course, obtaining proper instruction from its client. That is the meaning of your framework decision issue, the 30 April 2021. So we have received a decision issue Friday, Your Honor. I don't know if I have to speak about now. This is another topic, and I don't want to make something like a mingle between the topics. I suppose you prefer to stop here, and I would like to have the floor after to speak about that. Thank you very much.
Very well. Thank you, Defense Counsel.
Just one thing. I would like to conclude, of course.
Of course,
Yeah.
and if you could add to your submissions what the new elements that specifically you are pointing at, you would like to highlight them for.
Yeah, I fully understand. In our opinion, there is some new information and some details provided in this note, this so-called note. I would like to focus on the page number 1 of the note, point 4 at the end. We were talking about the damage caused by 3 bullets till now, the expert talked about 2 bullets and a possibility of 3. Now we have a sequences of the gunshot. We have a subject died shortly after these bones were damaged. The timing between the injuries and the death, of course, is something very new for us. And we are, may I have to say, unable to deal about that without some advice of our own expert. The compatibility with the victim being seated while shot. We have some element, I have to say, page 3 on 16, about a fragment of a bullet. We are not talking about the same victim, we are talking about the other one. This is new information, no bullet, but a fragment of bullet. The X-ray did not reveal any damage of the bone. So, the same, it's impossible to know whether he could have walked a few days after the injury on his foot. And that's the fact that it is a superficial scare. So, all points that we consider that we have to talk, of course, about with our expert, and of course to talk about with Mr. Shala to have a mandate from him to be able to tell the things to the court. And so the defense we consider, but it's up to you, is entitled and should be allowed adequate time for prepare his cross-examination for the expert witness whose evidence is scheduled for today. This has become necessary given the last-minute adjustment to his expert evidence that the defense need to process, analyze, and respond to. The defense need to be provided with a supplement to the expert report so that it can properly address the new element disclosed for the first time in yesterday's office note. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much. So this, you say you need adequate time for prepare your cross-examination. And how much time have you envisaged that you would need?
We tried to have a contact with our expert and we failed, but it was Sunday, of course, Sunday afternoon. We tried today, but it was the time of the hearing, so I cannot say, but in my opinion, a full day could be not enough. We have to have contact with him, to discuss with him, and then to come back to Mr. Shala. So, in my opinion, 40 hours could be something useful, I think so. If we want to avoid some new kind of problem, it will be ridiculous to come back to you and to say, we have a problem. I think so. Thank you very much.
And if I understand you right, you would like to receive a supplement to the expert report. Could you further clarify what should be added to that supplement? Because apparently what has been discussed has been put into this note. Huh?
Absolutely, Johanna. But we don't know why, we don't know the cause, the consequences, we don't know the why, may I say. So we would like to have, of course, some technical elements. We are, I hope, able to understand the conclusions, but not the way using by the expert to provide some new information that were not in his report, his expertise report. At the first time, at the first glance, we are unable to understand how does it work and how he is able to bring us some conclusions, some new conclusions. And I have to say, but it's too soon, but I want to be very clear and transparent. that it's not exactly the conclusions that our own expert provide us with.
But the expert will be here.
Our own expert.
No, but I mean,
yeah.
this expert will be here.
Yes.
And everything that that's only been disclosed. I didn't receive a request that this note will be used in court for now. All the questions can be asked to the expert. Just a note from the panel at this moment of time.
Exactly.
I will give the floor to
Thank you very much.
the defense and to the SPO and then to Victims' Counsel. Very well. You have the floor, Madam Prosecutor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Yes, I would like to raise 2 points in response to the defense objection. First, the decision on witness familiarization, which is filing 435, sets out the framework governing contacts between a calling entity, calling party, and its witnesses, including expert witnesses. And paragraph 19 of this decision establishes, and I quote here, that discussions between the calling entity and its expert witnesses may take place at any stage prior to calling such witnesses. So unlike with fact witnesses, there are no temporal or other restrictions to the possibility for the SPO, the calling entity in this situation, to meet with its expert prior to his testimony. During yesterday's meeting, we simply sought clarifications as to the findings in the expert report, and a report the defense has had for a long time. And we discussed some issues, none of which in our submissions are new or novel issues. And this with the view to making the expert testimony more efficient and clearer during this, the testimony. Also, this, of course, addressed issues that emerged from the evidence of witnesses heard in this case so far. So we thought that this would just simply help, again, the truth-finding process in this case. It was within our rights to meet with our expert and discuss these matters. We took notes of this meeting, which we submit respectfully are not a new report, but are simply an official note of this meeting. We promptly disclosed it to the defense, the panel, and all the parties, and that was within our, exactly within our rights. The defense also complained about systematic violations of their rights, but we don't think that there was any such violation, and the defense has failed to identify any prejudice that the meeting with Dr. Gasio caused to them. Again, our position is that there were no new issues discussed and that any clarifications can be still explored during the examination in chief and the cross-examination by the defense. And this is all we have to say on this matter at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honour. Just briefly from us, first of all, we agree with the SBO that a meeting of this kind is not objectionable and certainly isn't precluded by the decision on witness familiarisation, paragraph 19 of which exempts experts. In fact, there's nothing more natural, we would submit, than to want to meet an expert on the eve of his or her testimony. If in the course of that meeting new topics have emerged, then that's not really the fault of the SBO. It's a fact that has arisen as a result of the expert wanting to add or clarify matters from his earlier reports. The panel will judge to what extent these are new matters that take the defence by surprise. All I can say is, and I'm not passing any judgment on their assertions, all I can say is to the extent that there are additional issues raised in this report, we don't need more time and aren't seeking any.
Thank you very much, Victims' Counsel. Defense Counsel, if you would like to have a second round, you are
yes,
allowed.
But very shortly, Your Honor, very shortly. So I don't think, and I hope, I'm not used with claiming that the rights of the defense are violated in this procedure. I hope I am not. I pretend I am not. So that's why it's exceptional in my feeling that we are complaining about a situation. And the second point, and it will be enough, that's we have a damage. We are fully in a technical matter. We need to have the help and to have a contact with our own expert. If we want to understand and if we want to usefully cross-examine the witness, if we want to be part, if we want to fully be part with the defense case and including with the defense itself in the procedure, we need this contact. As that's what I want to focus first, that we are not using to claim horrible things about the right of the defense and violation and so on. Please, we let this kind of things to someone else. That's not our habitude, you can say, the way we want to practice the defense. Thank you very much.
Defense counsel, for my understanding, with relation to your last remark, you're telling us that it's not the position of the defense that there is a structural violation of the defense rights in this case.
That's what we consider. Yes.
That there's not.
Yeah.
That you say in
Exceptionally,
this case you feel that the rights are violated, but it was not that you intended to say that there's a structural violation going on.
Yeah, and to
Good.
answer to your question, to be sure that we understand each other, yesterday we tried to rewrite some questions with the new information, including in the notes. I can say that's difficult, and in my opinion, could be a risk, because we are not sure we are fully the understanding of all the elements, of the new elements provided. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Prosecutor, is there something you would like to add?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Very well. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. What we will do first now is I will give you the floor, Defense Counsel, for the second point you wanted to raise with the panel. We will have a discussion about that, and we will take it then from there.
Kind of you. Thank you very much, Your Honor. So, the defense was notified on Friday that it will be not allowed to cross-examine two prosecution witnesses who expect to testify live in this case. We consider this is prejudicial for us. The late notice of these changes has also prejudiced the way the defense chose to confront previous witnesses, and it prejudiced the defense as it was planning to explore particular issue with those two witnesses that right now it cannot do. The change, of course, by the prosecution at the, may I say, 11th hour, means that the defense has been deprived of valuable time that it is, we consider, absolutely required to add element to the presentation of its case. Any decision on the defense request for certification to appeal, this decision will be issued after the close of the prosecution case. This cannot, it seems to us, be accepted. There need to be new scheduling as to how the trial proceeds. We consider that this situation empty the appeal procedure from its purpose or from its own utility. So our request that the prosecution case can only be considered, because there is some new elements, of course, close after the panel has decided on the defense request for certification to appeal the decision allowing the prosecution not to call the witnesses and not authorize the defense to cross-examine the witness, and according to us, we submit to your panel that it could be until the issuance of a decision of appeal. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Until the transcript is not complete, so till what moment in time you request that the SPO case would not be closed? The microphone, thank you.
Thank you very much. I can rephrase the case. That's the conclusion. The prosecution case can only be considered closed after the panel has decided on the different request for certification to appeal the decision you issue, and according to us, till the issuance of a decision in appeal if you want to provide to a possible appeal a full usefulness, may I say. Thank you very much.
You understand how much time that would entail, huh?
You can trust me. We hesitate a lot to award and to speak about this problem, but we consider it's a real one. So we are fully understanding the situation. It's a painful one. Really, that's a painful one for everybody. I'm sure of that. But the reality that we are facing, we consider we are facing a real problem, and the best thing we have to say and to make, it's to provide you with.
No, noted. Just want to assure myself of this last thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honors. Very briefly, we don't think there are any grounds justifying any changes or modifications to the procedural steps, the upcoming procedural steps set out by the panel during the last hearing on 16th of June through the oral order. So that's our position. Thank you.
Very well. Victims' Counsel.
We've nothing to add on this topic, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well. What the panel will do now is we will have an adjournment. We will discuss the first issue you brought to the table, and for the second issue we will come back to that. But we will take another moment for deliberation on that in order to have nobody waiting too long, or not longer than necessary here. Yes. Very well. Then the hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. So, with regard to the first request made by the defense, what we will do is we will start today with the examination in chief and with the examination by Victims' Counsel, if any. And then, and of course, it's not the task of the panel to interfere with any internal organization from the side of the defense, but we would suggest to contact today at the earliest opportunity through one of the members of your team, the expert. And then tomorrow, what we will do is we will start the cross-examination by the defense in the afternoon at 1:30 with 2 sessions. Yeah? So we will have a session from 1:30, yeah, till 3 o'clock, a break of half an hour, and then till 5. Yeah. Very well. And for today, what we will do is we will continue till 12:30. Yeah? We have 1 hour lunch break. Then we have a session of 1.5 hours, half an hour break, and then another half an hour, and that will bring us till 4 o'clock. And the intention is that we have finalized examination in chief and the examination by victims counsel. And if it appears to be that things go differently, then we will liaise with the interpretation service to see if they are available to assist us more, because I think it's important that we have that part finalized so that you, for your cross-examination, have at least that type of information available, and then you can proceed with contacting your expert.
Super. May I, Your Honor? May I?
Please proceed.
Oh, I would like to make a clarification, just a clarification, Your Honor. At the transcript, page 11 and 12, I know that we are not in the habit as a defense team to complain with good reason of breach of Mr. Shala's right. You asked me to clarify it whether there is not a structural violation of the defense right in this case, and I understood your question to refer to the specific instance of the late notice at the 11th hour of the new element in the expert testimony we are going to hear this morning. I responded that we do not consider that this specific instance shows a structural violation. There are structural violations of Mr. Shala's right in these proceedings, as we have repeatedly noted in our submission, which of course we repeat and highlight at a very possible occasion. This instance is an isolated matter. It is late notice of a new element of expert testimony, and if the defense is allowed adequate time to respond, then it would not constitute a violation of Mr. Shala's right. This is what I meant and what I mean. But it's better to be clear, I think so. Thank you very much.
Defense counsel, we noted it. Thank you. Yes. Yes. We will now proceed. Now, there's one more point I want to make. And that is that in addition to what I just said with regard to the possibilities we have given to the defense to prepare its cross-examination with some by allocating them some more time, we would like to insist that according to the paragraph already mentioned by the SPO of the decision on the witness familiarization, the limitation of contact between a witness and the calling entity does not apply to expert witnesses. So discussions between the calling entity and its expert witness may take place at any stage prior to calling such witnesses. So the panel doesn't see a violation in this respect of the familiarization procedure established by the panel in the present case. Very well. This concludes the remark of the panel, and that brings us to the moment that we can proceed with the testimony of Mr. Gazior. He will testify without in-court protective measures. However, I alluded already to that before. Parts of his testimony may be given in private session, and if needed, to protect the identity of the witnesses and victims that are at risk, at account on cooperation with the specialist chambers. I have given you the sessions in which we will be working, and I ask now Madame Court Usher to bring the witness in. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Shala, you raised your hand. I cannot hear you, Mr. Shala.
Yes, Your Honor. I am not a lawyer myself, but I have not understood of any changes that have been made. But I believe that according to the law, I need to understand the changes in the witness statement. So I think that I should have the chance of being notified of the changes because I have not had any consultation process with my team. I believe I should be informed about that, so I'm not notified of the changes, of the amendments, and I believe that this is my right. At least I need to be notified of the changes or of the amendments of the statement by the witness, because it's a question of my life here. My life is on the line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shala. Defense Counsel, I leave it to you to make any request in this regard. We have given our decision and we have taken on board the reasoning and request made by you. What is your position in this regard?
My position is the point, my honor. I explained to you the problem we have with the content of the new information, the need of the expert, but of course the need to have a contact with Mr. Shala first. He has to be fully aware about all the consequences, about the content of the new information, of course, and to provide us with a real mandate about that. So I fully understand his reaction. He's not a lawyer, but he could be, I think so. Yeah. So I think we need to have time to take contact with Mr. Shala. So in my opinion, that's before hearing the testimony of the expert witness. So my request could be to postpone the start of the testimony with the afternoon. We're able to go to the detention center directly with the postponement of the hearing, and to deal it and to make it in the proper way, I think so, or almost in the proper way, if we could. Thank you very much.
I will give, this issue has not been raised before, Defense Counsel. You made a request before, and this was not the request you made to the panel. At least I didn't understand it in that way, but we will make a second round and we will take it from there. Thank you.
With your leave,
no.
I start to say the expert and Mr. Shala. You can verify it in the transcript. Yeah.
You were given a courtesy copy yesterday, wasn't it, at 4?
Just to add to this technical matter, Your Honor, on Sundays we cannot contact the detention center to be able to have a contact with Mr. Shala. The earliest we could do is this morning where Mr. Shala called us, and we could only briefly, before the courtroom session, discuss with him in general terms what is happening and what to expect in the session and what would be our requests. With the business times, we cannot directly contact Mr. Shala. We only contact the detention facility who, and the agents there very helpfully inform Mr. Shala to contact us, either on normal line or the privileged line. So the earliest possibility was today around 8:30, where Mr. Shala called, that we could inform him. But we could not have any contact before that, from Sunday. On the weekends we cannot, after 5:30 we cannot. Usually Mr. Shala can call us after business hours, but we cannot prompt a call from him. If no agent is at the detention center to inform him that we need to have a contact with him. This is
After
what-
5:30.
After 5:30 on the days, the working days, and on the weekend it's not possible. We can call, we tried sometimes, but nobody answers, and we cannot enter into direct contact with Mr. Shala. So we have to wait if he calls us during a weekend or before 9 or after 5:30, which happens often, but it's Mr. Shala who calls then. If we cannot transmit a message to him through the detention center, we may or may not have a contact with him. And the only contact we could have since yesterday was today at 8:30, which was very brief. We were on the way to the courtroom, and he had to prepare, so we only had like few minutes to talk to him about this.
I would have appreciated a little bit more explicit reasoning on this to understand the situation fully, but we will make it around.
Yes, thank you, Your Honors. I mean, the SPO's position is, again, that there are no new issues, no new matters that have emerged from the meeting yesterday, and so therefore we don't really see a need to postpone the start of the examination in chief. The defense has been granted by the panel some more time to deal with anything before the start of the cross-examination, so I think that we think that should be sufficient for them. That's it. Thank you.
Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
We've nothing to add on this topic, Your Honour. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I will propose to do is that we start with the examination in chief now, which is only for 1 hour. Then in the break, you will have the possibility to discuss with Mr. Shala the new issues. And if the defense would like to have half an hour more, so I will make the break 1.5 hours if that is necessary. You can at least discuss the issues, and then we proceed. That's how we are going to do it now. Mr. Shala, during the break, that is in 1 hour, you will be given the possibility, and I know that this possibility can be arranged for you to discuss with the defense team. And you will be given time after the hearing today and tomorrow morning to discuss with the team. And I will now give the floor, I will not go to the floor, but I will give Madame Court Usher the opportunity to usher the witness in. Good morning. Please have a seat.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Gazior. How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning. You may talk in your own language.
Oh, dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
Thanks. Thanks to the all member of the staff. Dziękuję za opiekę.
Thank you very much for taking care of me so well. Thank you to the staff of the specialist chambers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gazior. Today we will start with your testimony. Can you hear me fine?
Tak, słyszę dobrze.
Yes, I can hear very, very well.
Witness fine?
I can't hear the witness at all.
And we cannot proceed. We will have somebody looking at it, Mr. Shala. Mr. Gazior, we are now controlling. You cannot hear us? Can you hear me?
Tak, teraz słyszę.
Yes, I can hear you.
Shala cannot hear you, so we are looking into it in order to resolve the problem. I kindly ask the interpreters to interpret what I'm saying in order to see if Mr. Shala can hear me, and then I will ask the witness, Mr. Witness, today we will start with your testimony. This is a test. Yes, Mr. Witness, today we will start with your testimony. Mr. Shala, can you hear, please can you answer if you're doing fine, Mr. Witness? Or can you say test, test, maybe that's better. Can you say test, test? Mr. Gazior, can you say test, test?
Test, test.
Thank you. Mr. Shala, could you hear that?
No. I can't hear the witness at all.
Resolve that technical issue before we can proceed. We will introduce a change of plans in order to be able to resolve the technical problems. I propose, instead of waiting, sitting and waiting here, that we take our break now till 1 o'clock. Then the defense has the time to talk to Mr. Shala. This technical issue can be resolved, and we are liaising with the interpreters to see how much time we can use this afternoon, because I see the need to finalize examination in chief and examination by a victims' counsel, if any, today. So I think that is the best way to proceed instead of sitting here. Yeah, Mr. Gazior. I'm very sorry we have made you wait this morning because we had to discuss several issues, and now we are having a technical issue, and that means that we will adjourn the hearing now, and then we will start at 1 o'clock, and then I hope we can take it from there. Is that clear for you?
Absolutely no problem. Thank you.
Madame Kortosh, you can accompany the witness out of the courtroom. And in the meantime, Madame Prosecutor, how much time do you think that the SPO will need?
Your Honor, so we estimated 3 hours. I think we'll be around that time, maybe a little bit shorter. I'll be happy to provide an update maybe as we move along.
Okay, good. Thank you. Victims' Counsel, could you give an indication to the panel how much time you would need?
Well, the answer is either no time at all, excuse me, either no time at all or really just a very few minutes. There are two short issues that we're interested in. They may very well be covered by our colleagues in the SPO.
Very well. Okay, thank you. So then, Mr. Shala, you will be given the possibility to talk to the defense team about the issues you would like to discuss with them, and we proceed with the hearing at 1 o'clock, and then I will give you a new time schedule. And I hope that the technical issue will be resolved. Yes. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. I will first check the presence, the composition of the teams. I see SPO in the same composition. Yes, thank you. Victims Council 2. And here on my left hand, right also. I hope everything is okay at this side of the table, at that side of the table. Yes. I just was informed that there was a little accident, but everything okay, I hope. I see a nodding. Okay. Good. Very well. We will proceed with the testimony, but I will first check. Mr. Shala, welcome. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Before I usher the witness in, I would like to give some guidance with regard to the translation. Every time the witness will be speaking, we have to take at least 10 seconds into account before continue speaking, in order to be sure that the translation goes through to Mr. Shala. That's the important thing. And Mr. Shala, the first few times that the witness will be speaking, I will look at you to be sure that the translation has come through. So if you then would be so kind to lift up your thumb or to clearly nod at me, but maybe a thumb up would be the best thing, that I can see that you have heard the translation. And maybe when we are advancing into the examination, we can leave the thumbs up out, but just for me to check that we are taking it at the right pace in order for you to hear the whole translation. Can we agree on that?
Yes, I agree. But I don't understand. Another thing, please. The previous expert, regardless that he was speaking a different language, I could hear his voice while he was speaking, and I could also get the interpretation. But today I cannot hear the witness at all. Is he speaking or is he not speaking? And that's not okay for me.
Your point, but we are trying to resolve that now, and please adhere to the instructions I've just given to you. Yeah? We will make sure that you hear the expert. Yeah? We will not proceed without you hearing the expert. Very well. Madam Court Usher, could you bring the witness in?
Your Honours, if I could just very briefly address you before the witness is ushered in.
Okay.
Just to inform the panel that we managed to contact our own expert in the course of the break, and we informed her of the new elements that were disclosed yesterday. I'm afraid that she's not available either today or tomorrow to review the new material and have a meeting with us before we can begin our cross-examination of the witness, and therefore we would respectfully request 1 week to prepare, to have the opportunity to consult with our expert, discuss the new elements that were disclosed yesterday, and confront the witness. This is our request.
I will give the opportunity to the Specialist Prosecutors of the Office and Victims Council to give their submissions on that, and our decision on that will be taken at a later moment. Madam Prosecutor, would you like to react on the proposal and request of the defense?
Yes, Your Honors, just briefly, again, our position is that there are no changes, really. The clarification that were provided yesterday are just in line with the materials and information provided by the expert, and we believe a week actually is quite a wide change or big change in the scheduling at the moment. Also, we will have to check the availability of interpreters, so there are some logistical steps that we'll need to take care of in that case. So we think that delaying the cross-examination of a week will be actually too much in line of our position and what we discussed with the expert.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Victims Council, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. No, we've nothing to say on this topic. Thank you.
Very well. Then I will ask Madam Court Officer to ask Madam Court Officer to bring the witness in. Please sit down, Mr. Witness. Mr. Gazier, we will now start with your examination, with your testimony. But before we begin, I have several remarks. My first question to you would be, can you hear me fine?
W tej chwili słyszę.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Mr. Shala, have you heard the reply by the expert?
No.
Mr. Witness, Mr. Gazier, could you please repeat your reply?
To znaczy?
What do you mean? Do you want me to repeat that I can hear you very well?
I understand, Mr. Shala, that you are not hearing the witness.
No. No, Your Honor, I don't hear him. I hear the interpretation after a while, but not the witness.
Should hear the interpretation. That is what it's all about. It's not that you should hear the witness, because the witness is talking in a language that is not the language that, not the Albanian language. So we have translation from his language into your language. So it's not about that you hear his voice, but it is about you hearing the translation of what he has said.
Your Honor, I can only hear one interpreter, which is very poor. From English into Albanian, for me, it is very poor. The interpretation is very poor. But from what I understand, also the Czech expert was here earlier. I could hear his voice in the background. I cannot hear this witness at all.
Hearing the witness because he's talking in Polish, but it is about hearing the translation in Albanian. That is what you should hear. Dus, please wait before you start talking till I finish my sentence. So what you should hear is the translation. So I'm going to proceed now, and we will test if you hear the translation of what the witness is saying. And then in 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, we will reassess how it's going, and if you can hear the translation and if you understand the translation. So, Mr. Geisler, I have several remarks. The first one is you are called to testify before the specialist chambers in the case of the specialist prosecutor versus Pjetër Shala. You will be assisting the panel of judges to reach a verdict. You will have to take your solemn declaration. And after that, after having given your solemn declaration, you will be asked questions by the lawyers for the specialist prosecutor's office within the robes partly in purple, the lawyers representing the victims admitted to participate in the proceedings, sitting next to them, and then by the defense counsel of Mr. Shala, with the robes partly in red, and by us, the judges of the panel. And I would like to provide you with some guidance for answering the questions that you will be asked. Mr. Geisler, please listen carefully to each question. And if you don't understand, feel free to ask the question to be repeated. We want you to give your expertise to the best of your knowledge and to state what your findings and opinions are. Please answer the questions being put to you. And if we need more clarification, some follow-up questions will be asked to you. Mr. Geisler, I will also give you some practical advice for your testimony. Everything that we say here is translated and recorded, so it's important to speak into the microphone, to speak clearly, and to speak at a slow pace to allow the interpreters to translate everything. You should only start speaking when the person asking you a question has finished. When a question is asked, please wait, I would say 10 seconds, and then give your answer. This pause is very important because it will allow us to properly follow what you are saying. And if I raise my hand, please stop talking, because if I would say it out loud, I would interfere with the interpretation. It could be that sometimes we will ask you to leave the courtroom when it's necessary to discuss something regarding the content of your testimony. And in order not to influence you, we will have to discuss it without you. And if you have any questions, if you need a break, or otherwise you would like to say something to the panel, please raise your hand and I will give you the floor. All understood?
Tak?
Yes, everything is clear. Thank you.
Mr. Shala, did you hear a translation?
Your Honor, yes, I did hear a translation. I don't know whether it was accurate or not.
We have no reason to doubt the translation of the interpreters. But thank you. And for the next time, could you raise your hand in order to indicate to us that you have heard the translation? Mr. Shala, did you hear my question? We cannot hear you, Mr. Shala.
Yes, I heard your question.
That. Mr. Shala, please put on the microphone. We cannot hear you.
Your Honor, I don't...
Mr. Shala, I just want an answer to my question. Can you please raise your hand if you heard the translation of the expert? That is what we are going to do now. And we will do our utmost that you can follow the proceedings and also everything what the expert has said. Mr. Gazior, we have taken note of your request to bring into the courtroom and use the Atlas of Human Anatomy and a hard copy of your reports. And we have granted your request to have those documents in the courtroom, and the panel has inspected them. With regard to the reports, you need to seek the panel's authorization prior to making reference to it, indicating the relevant pages and or paragraphs you intend on using while you're being examined by the parties and Victims' Counsel. Because then we will pull up the specific part of the report so that everybody can look at it. Have you understood all that, Mr. Gazior?
Wypowiedź Wysokiego Sądu.
Your Honor, yes, I understand everything you've just said.
Mr. Shala, did you hear the interpretation of the witness? Could you please put on the microphone when you answer? Okay, I see a thumb, so I see that as an acknowledgement that he has heard it. Very well. Mr. Gazior, I will now ask you to take your solemn declaration. And I remind you that it is an offense within the jurisdiction of the specialist chambers to give false testimony. Do you understand this?
Tak?
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
Have you heard the interpretation, Mr. Shala? Okay. Please don't wait for me to ask you. As soon as you hear the interpretation, please indicate that you have heard it, so that we can proceed at a certain pace. Mr. Gazior, please repeat after me. conscious of the significance of my testimony.
Czy mam wypowiadać się w języku angielskim?
Shall I speak English?
Conscious of the significance of my testimony.
Świadomy uwagi.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony.
Mr. Shala.
I didn't hear anything.
Repeat it and then we will translate again. Conscious of the significance of my testimony. Please, Mr. Witness.
Świadomy wagi mojej.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony.
Have you heard anything, Mr. Shala?
Your Honor, yes, I heard you. But I didn't hear him.
We tested everything before and it worked. So I cannot understand where the misunderstanding is at this moment in time. Could it be that, yes, you may speak, but only with regard to if you hear it or not? Please, Mr. Shala.
I heard your question and the interpretation I heard, yes.
I will proceed now with the whole solemn declaration, waiting every time when you hear the translation, please lift your hand, because if not, it's going to be unworkable, as you understand. Yeah? Because apparently we have now done it 5 times, and I've seen that every time you heard the translation, if we wait long enough. And it would be of assistance that every time you hear the translation, you lift your hand. Mr. Witness, Mr. Gazior, we will continue now with the second part of the solemn declaration. And my legal responsibility.
And my legal responsibility.
I solemnly declare.
Uroczyście.
I solemnly declare
that I will perform my expert analysis conscientiously.
that I will perform my expert analysis conscientiously
and to the best of my knowledge
I zgodnie
and to the best of my knowledge.
And that I will state my findings
and that I will state my findings
and opinion accurately and completely.
I opinię
And opinion accurately and completely.
Mr. Witness, you are now under oath. We can now begin with your testimony, starting with the questioning by the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. Madam Prosecutor, you have estimated 3 hours. Please inform the panel if there are any changes in this regard. And I kindly ask you to take on board the pace we need in order to assure us that Mr. Shala hears the translation. And I will be watching also the screen in order to see that Mr. Shala confirms every time that the expert gives a reply and the translation has come to Mr. Shala.
We will do so, Your Honor. Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Gazior. Today I will be asking you questions on behalf of the Specialist Prosecutor Office. We will start by discussing your background and qualifications. And then we will move on to discuss some reports you have authored which are relevant to the present case. We will do most of this in public session, but when we need to discuss protected information, we will move into private session. Your Honors, for now, we can continue in public session.
Madam Prosecutor, just to check with Mr. Shala. Mr. Shala, have you heard everything Madam Prosecutor has said to the witness? Very well, thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, can you please state your name and surname?
My name is Marek. My surname is Gąsior.
Prosecutor, wait. Mr. Shala, did you hear the translation? Okay. I would kindly ask you to indicate it as soon as you hear it, in order for us to have a certain pace.
What are your date and place of birth?
I was born on the 20th of June, 1946, in Brzeziny, in the territory of Poland.
Mr. Shala, I will not be continuously asking. For now, I have the impression that it's working fine at this pace. So if any problems arise, please let the panel know. Thank you. Please proceed, Madam Prosecutor.
What is your current occupation?
At the moment, officially, I'm a retired person. I have an entry on the list of experts in the Lublin court in the forensic medicine, and I'm on that list of experts, which was created by the presiding judge of the district court in Lublin, or regional court in Lublin.
And have you been working as an expert in forensic medicine for the district court of Lublin?
As a witness expert, I've been working for the district court in Lublin. I started in the 1980s when I was working for the forensic department of the medical academy. And the entry into the list of experts is prolonged every 5 years on the application of the interested person. At the moment, I'm entered into that list until the end of the next year, which is until the end of 2024.
Gazior, what does your job as expert in the field of forensic medicine for the district court in Lublin entail?
At the moment, the things that I deal with, I'm being called by the police to the sites of where the bodies were found in order to carry out a preliminary examination, external examination, to produce, if it is possible, a preliminary opinion regarding the issues, whether there are any visible injuries on the body of a patient, and what they would suggest. Furthermore, the bodies of the patient, is being sent to the forensic site where my colleagues are carrying out the autopsy. And usually, I come in and I am present during the autopsies of my patients, those autopsies that are carried out by younger colleagues. And also, for the courts, I give my opinions based on submitted files for the cases, criminal cases, and civil cases. Bearing in mind different aspects of forensic medicine.
Stop here. Maybe we will resume some of this and discuss some of these other aspects in a bit. But I would now like to ask you another question. What is your level of education?
In 1978, I completed the medical academy in Lublin. As a student, it's difficult to say that I was working, but I established contacts with the medical academy, forensic medical academy department, and I started to work as an assistant there in the forensic medical department. After 4 years, I got a postgraduate specialization and the right to use the title as a forensic medical expert. And I've been using that title until today. And furthermore, at the biology department of the University of Nicolaus Copernicus in Toruń, in 1996, I defended my doctorate in the area of anthropology. And Nicolaus Copernicus University in Toruń granted me the title of PhD Doctor of Sciences in Biology and Anthropology.
Prior to working as a forensic medical doctor, an expert, as you have explained to us at the District Court of Lublin, what was your occupation?
I was working in the forensic medical department after my studies. I started work in the forensic medical site, where I got my contacts and established my contacts already as a student.
For the transcript, please. Apologies to my colleague. At page 39, line of the doctorate defended, that is ophthalmology. I believe I heard anthropology, but let's correct this since we have it.
Okay, I noted biology and anthropology as the two areas in which the expert received his doctorate.
Page 39, line 19 says ophthalmology.
Yes, we noted, and thank you, Defense Counsel. Yes, we may proceed.
Dr. Gazior, can you tell us perhaps something a bit more specific about your occupation between the period of November 2008 and November 2012? What was your job during that period, if you remember?
Until 2008, I was working as a forensic expert doctor for the United Nations. The mission of the UN in Kosovo in 2008 was replaced by the European Union's mission, and in the year of 2008, doing the same job at the same place, I was working for 4 years for the European Union.
And can you please explain briefly what your role as a forensics expert doctor for the UN in Kosovo initially and then for the European Union entail? What activities did you carry out as part of that job?
With regard to my job for the international organizations, I started in the year 2000. I was working for the International Tribunal, ICT for ICTY for Yugoslavia, and in 2000, in the year 2000, I started work in the morgue, Rachovac, in Kosovo. And I was working there from June until the autumn of the year 2000. In 2001, I was sent to the mission of the ICTY tribunal, and I was working in the morgue of Visoko, near Sarajevo, and later in the autumn of 2001 in the morgue of Sanski Most, near the border of Croatia.
Particular your experience in Kosovo, just briefly, if you can concentrate on that part of your work as an expert, just covering briefly the activities that you had in that role.
Working in Kosovo, I was working in the forensic sites, carrying out autopsies of exhumed human remains, and also autopsies of people who perished, fresh bodies. Moreover, I was a part of a team that was carrying out training in the area of forensic medicine for the doctors from Kosovo who were put in charge of that forensic medical site.
Extensive experience, and you worked in multiple other jobs at the national and international level. But for now, I will not be asking you further questions because your CV will be available to the panel. And Your Honors, further to the procedure that you have set out in the decision conduct of proceedings at paragraph 61, we would seek to tender into evidence and to admit the CV of the expert, and I provide the RN number for that, if this way of proceeding is what the panel envisages.
You may do that after in a separate filing, but not tendering in court.
Will do. Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Gazior, we have now concluded this first preliminary part about your qualifications, and I would now like to discuss with you some reports that you prepared in the past that are relevant to the present proceedings. Your Honors, may I please have on the screen the first report for the purpose of having the witness authenticate this report. And I'm happy to provide the ERN number for that.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So it is 031049 to 031095, red 2. And this report should not be broadcasted to the public.
Thank you. Please proceed, Madam Court Officer.
Your Honors, may we please briefly move into private session for just to discuss some protected information?
Yes, we will. Madam Court Officer, could you bring us into private session, please?
Your Honors, we are back in public session.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Please proceed, Madam Prosecutor.
Dr. Gasio, did you prepare this report?
Yes, I have prepared it.
Look at page 4, and again, if the court officers could please facilitate that. It is actually the previous page compared to the one we have in front of us at the moment. Do you recognize the signature there?
Yes, I do recognize it. It is my signature.
Did you personally conduct the examination described in this report?
In every case of every autopsy, I have personally carried out the inspection of the patient in order to establish given injuries. And this also has happened in this case.
Dr. Gasio, can you please explain what was the purpose of the examination, the autopsy that you conducted in this specific case?
The work in the morgue looked in such a way that I had received, as any other forensic expert, we were receiving plastic body bag with a number, and I never knew what it contains. And the patient in that bag was sent first, when it was brought over to the forensic department of medicine. It went into the cold room and it was waiting its turn. And from the cold room it was transported to a room where there were placed the X-ray machines in order to check and look out for metal parts which could remain inside. And in this instance, from the notes, it stems that no missile or any other metal fragments were found. And the examination, X-ray examination, didn't show any metal fragments detected or bullets. Therefore, there were no pictures taken.
If I can just briefly stop you here for a few preliminary questions before moving into this part that you were just starting to talk about. You mentioned just now that in this case, the work in the morgue, and in this case, this is at transcript page 44, lines 24 to 25. You received in a plastic bag with a number, and you didn't know what it contained. My question is, did you receive any information about this individual or anything concerning the reasons why this person was there in advance or contextually with receiving the human remains?
Pracując w prosektorium,
working in the morgue, I received a plastic bag with a number.
When conducting the autopsy, did you follow a specific protocol or guidelines that, for example, were in place in the morgue where you were working?
The methodology of the work was worked out in the year of 2000 in the morgue of Rachovac, Wysoko. And this methodology we were trying to continue during the work in Pristina.
Thank you, Dr. Gazior. So you also told us, and again, this is at page 45, lines 5 to 6, that from 4 to 6, actually, from the cold room, the body was transported to a room where they were placed in the X-ray machine. And I think you started commenting on the results of that X-ray examination. Can you please perhaps resume from there and tell us again what did this X-ray examination show in this case?
The X-ray machine that we were able to use in Pristina, it was a fluoroscope which allowed to establish the presence of metal parts. And in practice it looked in such a way that a body bag together with the body was transported to the X-ray machine and then underwent the examination. And if there was nothing, then no pictures were taken. If there was a fragment of metal established, then the picture was taken and that part was recovered during the autopsy.
Mentioned just earlier that page 45, lines 9 to 10, in this case, the X-ray did not show any metal fragments or bullets. Is that correct?
In my report, there is a notation or note that the whole body underwent an X-ray examination and there was no fragment of bullets, missiles or metal fragments.
After the X-ray examination and when I guess you started your examination, what was the status of the body when you started examining it?
pacjent?
So the body was moved to the autopsy table, and then the entire team of experts would examine the body, and a photographer would take pictures before the autopsy, during the autopsy, and after the autopsy. This team was composed this was about post-mortem examination, so this was composed of a photographer, anthropologist, sometimes his assistant, also a photographer's assistant, sometimes these were local people, a police officer, who made a list, a register of all the exhibits or artifacts found next to the body. And as for the anthropologist, we had the age, gender, and stature of the dead person taken down, and now the body was disposed of, or soft tissues were removed. We were looking at injuries in the body system or bone system, so that we can find the reason, the cause of death. I would receive a report from the anthropologist, the police officer's report, the photos taken by the photographer, forensic photographer, and I would write a final report in which I was supposed to specify the cause of death. And this was the case also here, in the case before us.
Describe, maybe I will take you to some of the pictures in the report shortly, but what was the status of the body when you saw it? What characteristics could you observe on the body itself?
Usually, a report, well, the first chapter would be put in the report, and in this chapter you would have a general description of the remains from the bag. In this particular case, in this plastic bag, the remains of a single person. They were in transition, so what is called saponification. So this is a fat wax transformation, which we technically called saponification. And this was the state in which I found the remains.
To do with the decomposition, can you maybe elaborate briefly on that?
Indeed. This process, which is called fat and wax transformation or saponification, as I said, may take place when the remains are in a moist, humid environment, usually at low temperatures without a presence of oxygen. This process sometimes takes place when the remains are in water or, for example, in some conditions in an environment that is humid. And for this saponification to happen on the remains, so we have this fat wax transformation, and this requires some time. In forensic medicine, it is assumed that this period is at least 6 months. It may be longer.
Thank you, Dr. Dazior. I have a question. So you just explained to us what happened, like the saponification process. I would like to ask you whether there were any tissues on this body that you were examining. And by tissues, I mean skin, vessels, or anything like that.
Well, in ordinary language, in forensic medicine, we call it a chalk transformation. Why? Because the remains are white and fragile. They crumble easily. It's never the case that all the organs will be transformed or decomposed in a specific way. Patterns are different, but you can, in this case, you can see in the pictures, actually, the entire body, all the soft tissues were saponified.
Thank you for that. Did you find anything else on the body, let's say, aside from the bones and, in the status you just described? Was there anything else that you could identify on the body itself that you can explain to us?
Znajdowałeś się?
Yes, clothes that were secured by the police officer on site. Additionally, on the right lower limb, it was found plaster. Plaster was found. Plaster of gypsum on this right leg, and we removed it. Then the soft tissues were removed as well. The bones were placed in the anatomical position, and the remains were simply subject to visual inspection.
Dr. Gazio, I would now like to show you some of the pictures in the report and ask you to confirm your findings. May I, Your Honors, please have within the same report page with ERN number 031056. I believe it should be probably the 5th page of the report.
Please proceed, Madam Court Officer.
And perhaps it can be zoomed out just a tiny bit. Thank you. Dr. Gazio, does this picture show the body, the mortal remains, with the clothing that you mentioned earlier?
Well, according to the description, their remains were in clothes, or they were clothed. This is the anterior view, and on the right leg you see this plaster I was mentioning before.
To help us understand or see, let's say, the right leg, can we please have the following photograph? It's just the following page with ERN 031057. And I understand this to be a photograph from the back of the body. Is that correct?
This view is the posterior view. So we see the back. Yes.
And Dr. Gazio, you told us that you found a plaster. This is at page 49, lines 12 to 13, a plaster of gypsum that you subsequently removed. Could you please mark in this picture where the plaster is? And perhaps I would ask the court officers to help us with this exercise.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer, for assisting.
Touch.
Yes? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer.
May I now have a page with ERN number 031062 of the report?
Madam Prosecutor, we will first save this document with the markings of Mr. Gazior and then proceed to the next document you are requesting. And the purpose of the next document will be?
It is also to ask the expert witness to confirm and to show us visually what he just told us before, in particular about this plaster that he was commenting on.
Thank you. Madam Prosecutor, it's 5 minutes before we will have a half an hour break, just to give you a heads up.
Thank you, Your Honors. Yeah, I think I can just maybe conclude this part and then we can go into the break. Is it possible perhaps to have the reference number for this exhibit? Thank you.
Your Honor, the markings made by the witness will receive registry number REG 00959.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer.
So if we can then have again the report on the screen and at page 031062. Dr. Gazio, can you please take a look at picture number 12 and perhaps the court officer can zoom a little bit into this picture, number 12. Maybe that will help the expert.
And all of us.
And everyone else, yes. Dr. Gazio, does this picture represent the plaster that you were describing earlier and that was removed from the right leg?
Wygląda na...
Yes, it looks like plaster, gypsum plaster, and in the description we read, and it looks like it's the right leg indeed.
And may we have, for the same purpose, also the following page, pictures 13 and 14. Dr. Gazio, would these pictures also be a representation of the plaster?
Zgodnie z opisem.
According to the description of the photos 13 and 14 represent indeed a gypsum plaster.
Thank you very much. Your Honors, I think we can probably conclude your break for the moment, as I would like the next topic will be moving on to some other findings, so perhaps it's a good moment now to break. But I see my colleague has raised.
Thank you. For now, I understand that you have concluded. Thank you. I understand for now you have concluded this part of your examination, and we will proceed with your examination after the break. Defense counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a point of clarification about the description mentioned twice by the witness. Are we looking at ERN 031060 to be able to follow, or another reference, just for the clarity of what description means?
Your Honors, I believe, and maybe I don't know if it was recorded incorrectly on the transcript, but the page was 031063, and the pictures were 13 and 14. I believe it was
It is what we have on the screen, Defense Counsel, but maybe you can clarify where the misunderstanding maybe is, or maybe there has been a wrong citation.
Your Honor, at page 52, lines 9 and 10, there is a mention of description, and we don't see description in the photos. I assume the description referred to by the expert is the one that is in the preceding 2 pages before. That is a list So I just need that we all be clarified as to what description the expert is referring to. And a reasonable understanding would be that there is a list at ERN page 031060 which contains a description of many items. Maybe that's it, or maybe not, but we should clarify it, because the pictures don't contain any descriptions.
Before I give you the floor, Madam Prosecutor, I will give the floor to the witness. Apparently he wants to clarify something. Please, you have the floor, Mr. Gazior.
It's a very good question. And your question refers to the description of the photos. Our photographer was very detailed in his work, so he would describe every single photo in detail. So to answer your question, well, you will find this answer to your question on page 031058.
Madam Court Officer, that page. Madam Prosecutor, I allow you to take it from here.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Gazior, you made reference to a description indeed, as defense counsel has pointed out. Can you perhaps, in this page that we have in front of us, show us where this description is included, perhaps by using also the photograph number or...
You may proceed, Mr. Gass.
Może pan kontynuować, panie doktorze. Okay, so we have had an excellent photographer, Alan Whitman was his name, Alan Whitman. He was an excellent forensic photographer, providing training for local photographers. He was perfect in his work, and this is exactly the page that testifies to it. So photographs from 1 to 10, you see they were taken by Alan Whitman, and photographs 11 to 28, well, they were taken by Ibrahim X, a local photographer. So this, the photograph number 12, so the gypsum plaster that is called cast here, this was taken by a local photographer, the local photographer, named by me, but supervised by Alan Whitman.
The description to the photographs you mentioned.
No tu jest. Pierwsza jest data.
Well, first you have the date, then photo number, then who took this photo, and then the last column, which is called or headed description.
And do I then understand rightly, Mr. Gazier, that we have an indication of photo 12, 13, and 14, and that are the descriptions you are referring to?
Jest to opatrunek. Indeed.
Thank you. Defense Counsel, does that clarify your question?
Absolutely, Your Honor. Thank you.
Then, Mr. Gazier, we will have a half an hour break, a little bit less, till 3 o'clock. Yeah? Madame Kortescher will issue you out, and we will see you back at that moment. Thank you very much for now. The hearing is adjourned till 3 o'clock.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Very well. Yes, I see that the SPO is in the same composition. It goes the same for the Victims' Council and the defense also. Very well. Before the break, I made a comment about, I said pictures 13 and 14, but it should be 12, 13 and 14 that have been used, just for the record. Today, we will reschedule how we will proceed today. We will continue till 4 o'clock, yes, because I only want to make use of extra time of interpretation if I see that it will bring us to a certain, if it's really necessary to push. And so I prefer to continue till 4 o'clock, which is the regular time, and then tomorrow you will be given the opportunity to continue. And tomorrow we will also give an oral order on your request. Yes, so that's how we are going to proceed. Very well. Then, Madame Kortescher, if you would be so kind to bring the witness in, then we can continue with the examination. And Madam Prosecutor, and also for all, for the other party and participant present, with regard to the CV and the report, you can submit that at the same time as you're submitting the evidence used with this witness in a written filing, just to be clear on that. Gazier, we will continue now with your examination by the Specialist Prosecutor Office. I give the floor to Madame Prosecutor.
Welcome back, Dr. Gazier. Before the break, we were looking at a photo log that is included in your report. And could we please perhaps go back to that page of the report, which is 031058.
Please proceed.
Dr. Gazier, can you please confirm that this photo log lists all of the photographs that were taken of the body parts and of the items that were found in the body bag you received at the morgue?
Zdjęcia oraz
The images and the log, or the list of the images, were taken by Alain Whitman, the photographer, and the local photographer by the name of Ibrahim Shabani. I received the photos and list of the images taken.
Question. Mr. Shala, did you hear the interpretation? Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Dr. Gazier, I would now like to take you to another part of your report, and in particular at your findings at page 031050. If we could perhaps have that on the screen.
Please proceed.
And if we can please scroll towards the bottom of the page. Dr. Gazier, I see that in this page of the report, under the heading Old Healed Injuries, the third bullet point makes reference to the right ribs, number 4, 5, and 6, where you indicated bone callus secondary to antemortem fracture. Can you please show us on the skeletal model that you took with you where these ribs are located?
Są to żebra.
These are the ribs on the right-hand side, described as follows: 4, 5, and 6. Right ribs number 4, 5, and 6.
5.
4, 5, and 6. These are 3 ribs. You could see scars on them, suggesting a fracture. The location was visible on the front side 1/3 of the rib between the sternum and where the rib ends. So this is where the fracture happened. Fractures, the witness corrects himself.
Gazior, for the record, I would like to add to what you've said that you have been pointing at the right side of the skeleton, and that you were counting from the top. Can you confirm that?
Yes, ribs are counted from the top.
But when you point at the skeleton, it's not transcribed in the transcript. So if we, all of us, the parties and victims' counsel and the panel, read it afterwards, it might be less clear. So everything that you point out to us, try to verbalize it in addition, and if not, I will try to add. Yes, Madam Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Dr. Gazior, can you please explain to us how you establish that the fractures on the ribs you just identified were old or healed injuries, as you indicated in your report?
Widoczne są blizny kostne.
You can see scars in the bones, which confirms that the fracture healed. Basically, it regrew. Or grew back, if you like.
Dr. Gazior, would you be able to confirm that this scar in the bone, which regrew or grew back, as you just told us, is this what you called the bone callus on your report?
Jest to?
Indeed, yes, it's a bone callus.
Thank you, Dr. Gazior. I would now like to draw your attention to the conclusions in your report, and this can be found at ERN 031052. If we could please have that on the screen. We can see in the report that it is indicated that, in your opinion, the cause of death was gunshots to the right leg. Dr. Gazior, earlier today, and I will look for the reference and provide it to the panel in a moment, you told us that the X-ray examination that was performed on the body when it came to the morgue and after being taken from the fridge showed neither bullet nor metal fragment. My question is then, how could you establish that this body was hit by bullets? pages 46 and 47 of today's transcript.
Na zdjęciu 29
In image 2930, 30, and the following, up until 51, zero 03 10 65 until 031069.
Call up these pages that the witness is making reference to on the screen for everyone's benefit, if you would like to proceed in this way.
Yes, because for now it was not clear where we were heading at. Yes, Madame Court Officer, could you please start? We cannot have them all at the same time. But could you please pull up the first page 031065? And Madam Prosecutor, I would suggest that you guide the witness to first give the answer and then extract it with the pictures.
Yes, Your Honors. Mr. Witness, before we will proceed in this way, perhaps before making reference to the pictures, would you be able to first elaborate and just explain to us orally, verbally, the answer to my question, so that I will repeat? How could you establish then that this body was hit by bullets?
Pacjent otrzymał.
There were 3 shots into the left. The witness corrects himself. The right leg. And the result of those gunshots were injuries in the bones making up the right knee. Can I show it on the model, please, where the gunshot wounds or injuries are located? If you look at the first one, you can see the distal femur, you can see the entrance here, and then the exit on the back, the rear side. That was the first one.
Mr. Gazior, this is called, where you were pointing at, this is called the distal femur. That specific part.
Tak, jest to
Exactly. That's the distal part of the femur.
postrzał obejmujący
The gunshot, second gunshot, affected the proximal part of the femur. The exit was on the rear, on the back. Number 3 now. Tangential shot. Hang on. I need a minute. Condyle of the femur. The femur has 2 condyles. Microphone, please. The interpreter can't hear very well.
It's quick itch.
So you've got the lateral condyle on the side and a medial condyle.
I think it would be also useful to extract it with the pictures we have in the report.
Yes, Your Honors, I was going exactly there, and maybe if, with your permission, I would like to maybe show one of the pictures and ask the witness to mark these bones and parts of the body exactly as he mentioned them in this picture for clarity.
Thank you.
So can we maybe zoom, is this the same page that we have in front of us, but it's picture 29 at the bottom of the page. Maybe if we can zoom in a tiny bit. Thank you. Dr. Gazior, would you be able to mark with a number 1 the femur on this picture? And perhaps we have the, if that can be facilitated. Thank you.
Make a circle.
Yes, you may make a circle.
And can you please maybe add a number 1 to the femur that you just identified? Would you also be able to mark with the number 2 the patella? And with the number 3, the tibia?
Das
Perhaps-
britische Fragment.
To the last sign you put, the tibia, close to it, so we will be easier to identify. And finally, with the number 4, the fibula.
Das ist Schauka.
Yes, fibula.
You marked with 3 the fibula. No, you marked with 3 the tibia, sorry. But the tibia is not only where you marked it, but it's the whole bone, for my understanding. Huh? That.
Jest to
Yes. This is the tibia. This is the thicker one. And the fibula is on the side. Here you got the patella and the femur.
It's not only the circle you put around the hole, but that's the whole bone. Yeah?
Jest to
Yes.
cała.
Yes, indeed. The whole bone.
Just for reasons of clarity. Because the 4. Okay. Okay. He is standing again, very well. So the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the names of 4 bones in the human body, and you indicated to us with numbers parts of these bones. That's how I understood it. Madam Prosecutor, I say it because now you were aiming more at how the different bones of the body were named, and I'm not sure if the witness completely understood that was your aim, and therefore I tried to clarify.
Yes, thank you, Your Honors. Exactly. I was trying to first have this explanation so we can make reference perhaps to these body parts a bit more easily, but now I would like to go back to my initial question, building up on what the witness said, because when I asked you how could you establish that this body was hit by bullets, you started talking about injuries. And then my next question would be, could you please identify, and I know that you've circled already those parts, but, or rather, could you confirm that the 2 parts that we see encircled in this image are the wounds created by those bullets? So we can see, I think, a hole on the femur, number 1, and a hole on the tibia, number 3.
Numeri 1, este rana.
Number 1, gunshot wound to the femur in the distal part. Number 3 is tibia, right part.
Do I understand correctly that from the nature, from the size of these injuries, you could conclude that these were caused by bullets?
Sorry, Your Honor. The question was asked twice, and we received no answer for it. We hesitated to intervene, so it should not be suggested to the expert. He was asked about it. He should be given probably a 3rd opportunity to establish how he could conclude to that. Not suggesting that that is the reason he concluded those were bullets. I mean, let's take it in the appropriate manner. Please.
But what is the, in your view, I'm trying to follow you, why is it not appropriate, what is being asked here?
Your Honor, the expert was asked twice.
Yes.
How he could conclude that those injuries came from bullets. Twice. And we didn't receive an answer, unfortunately. So we should not suggest now an answer and ask him to confirm. We should do it step by step.
Madam Prosecutor, what is your reaction to that?
Yes, Your Honors. I was trying to get there step by step. I trying in an open way to ask the witness to guide us through that analysis. I'm probably think that the expert has a lot of medical knowledge that perhaps sometimes we are not, of course, able to follow immediately. Maybe there are some details that are. I'm happy to.
How can you see from? How could you see from the injury, and then you could proceed? But I would like to make a point just for the transcript. My attention was called to line 60, the page 63, line 7. The number 4, the tibia, does not appear in the transcript. So I would like to have a confirmation from Mr. Gazior that the number 4, yeah, not the tibia, but that the number 4, could you say what is the name of that bone? Because it does not appear in the transcript. And I see the defense nodding.
Strzałka.
This is fibula.
And Madam Prosecutor, you may proceed with asking the witness with regard to how he could establish that.
Dr. Gazior, so you concluded in your report that the cause of that was gunshot wounds. So my question is, again, by looking at this picture 29, how could you conclude, did you reach the conclusion you reached about the gunshot wounds? Can you perhaps explain us this particular aspect?
Na zdjęciu 20.
On the picture number 29, in the part of distal part of femur, noted as number 1, in that place there is a shotgun injury with its entrance at the front leading to the back.
Mr. Gazior, you say it is a gunshot wound, and we are very interested to know where you base your finding on that that is a gunshot shot wound and not something else. Huh?
On the picture number 29, there is a visible oval cavity from which there are the fraction lines or cracks. And this picture represents the bone, the distal femur, from the anterior side. The gunshot wounds on the bones, in this case, are characterized by the fact that as a result of the gunshot, there is a cavity of an oval shape and the exit from the bone, which is visible on the pictures 43, 44, is bigger, larger than the entry wound, is of a shape, may I use an English term which is being used, beveling. That is to say, it's getting larger within the trajectory of the bullet, which is visible on the pictures 43, 44.
3 and Please, Madam Prosecutor.
Dr. Gazior, can you, you mentioned this picture, can you tell us what we can see in these pictures 43 and 44?
What is visible, the back part, a distal part of the femur from the back. As I mentioned, it's got the condyle, lateral condyle, and in the middle, if I may use a description that we use in forensics from Latin, fossa intercondylaris. It's a cavity between the condyles.
Na zdjęciach tych
And on these pictures, one of the things visible, a fragmentation of the distal part of the femur, which is which has been examined after the reconstruction, that is to say, after gluing back together the fragmented parts of the bone.
Thank you, Dr. Gazior, for...
Please, Mike, yeah.
Thank you for these explanations. I would now like to ask you, can you explain how the gunshot wounds to the right leg that you just described would have caused individual A's death?
w przypadku zwłok ekshumowanych,
with regards to the exhumated bodies, patients that had lost their lives some time before the exhumation of the body, there is after the death dissolution of the soft tissue, and in the advanced stage of those changes, we are not able to say. But in this particular case, here you see fossa intercondylaris, this cavity between the condyles. And on the left leg, there is a visible, this red thing. This is a artery which is supplying the whole limb, lower limb, and it goes ideally inside that cavity. That is where there is an outlet or exit of the bullet that we've been talking about. So, as we speak about the common sense, this bullet caused the total destruction of the artery and the bleeding.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gazior. And can you just give us a few information about, you mentioned this artery, and you mentioned also that it's supplying the whole limb. Can you just explain to us perhaps why the bleeding from this artery would have caused the death of this individual?
Rana postrzałowa.
The gunshot wound with the total destruction of the artery causes bleeding. And on these pictures, we do not see the proofs of that the bone had been undergoing healing. So the time between the gunshot itself and the death was a short one.
Thank you, Dr. Gazior. I would now like to ask you something about the trajectory of the bullets. And in particular, I would like you to comment on the findings that we can find at page 3 of the report. And if we may please have that on the screen, I will guide the witness to the specific part of the report.
Please proceed, Madam Court Officer.
The year end is 031051. And in your report, we see this indication that there was one shot from front to back, plus minus horizontal level. The second one from front to back and from down to upward. And the third one from front to back, up to downward, and slightly from medial side to lateral. Now, my question is, how were you able to establish this trajectory that you indicated in this page?
Wszystkie obrażenia,
all of the injuries that are seen within the skeletal part are being described according to anatomical position of the patient. It's the position of the one that you can see on this model. So it's upright, the limbs, the lower limbs are straight, the upper limbs alongside the corpus, and hands in a frontal way, positioned. All the injuries on the body or within the bone structure are described according to the position, anatomical position of a human being.
If we take, for example, your findings with regard to the first shot, let's call it first shot, you indicated that this shot came from front to back in an horizontal level. How could you say that this shot came from front to back?
It is a gunshot which we have marked as number 1. And it is visible on the pictures where there is a entrance of the wound, and more or less at the same level the exit at the back, which indicates that the trajectory of the bullet was more or less horizontal.
The floor, Mr.
Apologies, Your Honor.
No, not at all.
Just to clarify before we go more into this, my learned colleague said dealing with the first shooting, this might become an issue. We have to clarify if first, second, and third is a sequence temporal or just a numbering, because this might be an issue at some point. For 1, 2, 3, or first, second, is it a sequence of temporal? Maybe we need to clarify this first before we go further on this.
Madam Prosecutor, please proceed. What was your intention with the 1, 2, 3?
I was just going to, I was just following really the bullet point in the reports, and if we can all agree on using one, second, third, just for references, because this is what provided in the report. If the defense agrees, we can proceed in that way without, at the moment, making further inferences as to anything. But I was just using the language really that the doctor used in the report.
Yes. I see defense counsel nodding, and it was also my understanding that we were not talking about a temporary line, but the order as presented in the report. So we are clear on that. You have the floor, Madam Prosecutor.
Dr. Gazior, I would like to go back briefly to what you just told us. And I believe this must have been at page 70. Yes, I think line 72, sorry, 1 to 2. You talked about an entrance and an exit that you saw on the bone. So did your observations as to these 2 points, entrance and exit, how was it relevant to your conclusions about the trajectory of the bullets?
The gunshot that was marked in the report as number 1 was more or less in the position of horizontal position, more or less at the same level.
Just to ask, because I think that is the essence of your question, how did you know that this was the entrance, and how did you know what was the exit hole? I think that is the gist of your question, although I think we have touched on it before, but I think that is the essence of your question, and I'm looking at the clock. We are 5 minutes from 4 o'clock, so please, if you need some more minutes in order to finalize this part, please proceed, but we are getting at the end of the hearing of today.
Thank you, Your Honors. Yes, so I will rephrase this question perhaps in more clearer terms. So, Dr. Gazior, indeed, how can you tell which one was the entry and exit point of the bullet in the bone?
Zdjęcie 40.
The picture 42, page 031067.
O właśnie to, 42.
Yes, exactly that, 42. More or less, the oval cavity and the cracks line going from that cavity. That's the entrance. And the exit, what I said before, is of a larger diameter and has a crater-like widening, which is visible on pictures 43, 44. Next page, 68.
Zdjęcie 43.
43, picture 43 shows the exit at the back side of the bone.
Thank you, Dr. Gazi. I think now this is clear. And I see that we are 2 minutes before 4 p.m., so I would rather perhaps stop here and continue tomorrow with some more questions on this part.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. We continue with issuing out the witness. Madam Court Officer, could you please provide us with an ERN number that have been allocated to the items that have, of the item that the witness has marked during his examination by the SPO, please?
Your Honor, marking made by the witness on picture 031065 will be assigned registry number REG 960.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Mr. Witness, Mr. Gazior, we will continue with your examination tomorrow morning at 9:30. Thank you for your efforts today. Try to take some rest, and then we see each other tomorrow morning in court again. Madam Court Officer will accompany you. Very well. Before we adjourn for today, can the SPO give an estimation of how much time they think they will still be needing tomorrow?
Your Honors, I think based on the pace at which we've been proceeding today, I believe we'll probably need the full 3 hours. So I think today we used 1 hour and 50 minutes, will be another 1 hour and 10, probably.
Good, thank you for that. Victims' Counsel, I take on board your prior answer to this, so I think the court is informed enough. Thank you. Good, tomorrow we will meet at 9:30. Yeah, the hearing is adjourned.
All rise.